Hi, third graders. For the next 2 weeks, we will be focusing on poetry during our reading lessons. Let's first look at what the definition of poetry is. Poetry is a form of writing that uses fewer words and rhythm to express feelings and ideas. Poetry looks different from other writing because of the way the print is placed on the page. There are two vocabulary terms that I want you to pay close attention to, and we're going to talk about these as we read poems throughout the week. The first one is line. A line is a unit of language into which a poem is divided. The second is stanza. Stanza is a grouped set of lines. So now we're going to look at a poem called Tsunami, and we're going to look at what the lines are and how many stanzas are in that poem. Okay, so we're going to read the poem Tsunami, and it's by John Arno Lawson. The wave travels slowly, without companions, gathering them into itself, passing through everything like a ghost. It rushes with something to tell the shore, but by the time it arrives, it can only roar. So looking at this poem, we are now going to number the lines. This right here is one line in a poem. This would be the second line, and then the third line. Then we're going to skip the open space and continue numbering. So this is 4, 5, 6, skip the open space, 7, 8, 9, skip, and then 10. So there are a total of 10 lines in the Tsunami poem. A group of lines is a stanza. So this is stanza 1, stanza 2, stanza 3, and stanza 4. And if you notice, stanza 4 only has one line, but the other 3 stanzas have 3 lines. There is no set number of lines that make up a stanza. They can be as small as 1 line up to 4 and 5 lines. So there are 4 stanzas in Tsunami and 10 lines. So let's read that poem one more time. And as I'm reading, I want you to pay close attention to things that you're noticing about this poem. Tsunami by John Arno Lawson. The wave travels slowly, without companions, gathering them into itself, passing through everything like a ghost. It rushes with something to tell the shore, but by the time it arrives, it can only roar. Did you notice if this poem was fiction or nonfiction? Right, it is a nonfiction poem. It's about a tsunami, which is a real thing that occurs in nature. We also know that the poet is describing things about a tsunami, how it travels slowly, how it's gathering things as it's getting bigger. And by the time it gets to the shore, it is loud. What is the writer describing? Again, he's describing a tsunami and how it travels. What does the poem help you see, hear, or feel? As I was reading the poem, could visualize or see that wave out in the ocean, starting off small, but then getting bigger as it was collecting things and getting closer to the shore. I could hear how quiet it was. And if you notice this stanza right here, passing through everything like a ghost, great simile that was used, and I know Mrs. Collins talked to y'all about that during your writing lessons. They're comparing the wave with the ghost, that they both travel silently. Here, a tsunami is quiet until it gets close to the shore, and then it's very loud. And could just feel how frightened it must, or how frightened you must feel as you are near and a wave is getting bigger. Think about it when you're at the beach and that big wave comes and you're trying to go out and jump waves, and that wave comes and it crashes into you. It's kind of a scary feeling at first. So just think of these things as you're reading poetry throughout the week. And we're now going to move on and create an anchor chart, thinking about things that poems always have, what they often have, and what they sometimes have. Okay, so now let's look at our anchor chart and add to it together. So looking at or thinking back to the Tsunami poem, we know that in the always column, poems can be fiction or nonfiction. There are different kinds of poems. Poets use fewer words to tell about an idea or express a feeling. Poets use rhythm. We can add to it that poets place words to help you know how to read the poem. So these are characteristics that poems always have. So now let's think about characteristics that poems often have. We could say that poems often have words that help you to see, hear, or feel things. Okay, and then for sometimes poems use rhyming. Not always, but sometimes they use rhymes. And sometimes they have the poem is, let's say, printed in a shape to help you understand. And those are known as concrete poems. So the poem is actually written in the shape of what is being described. So as you're reading poetry throughout the week, think about these characteristics that are always there, often, and sometimes.